Hello, everyone. This is Jay Coder, and I'm here with you all to do another live stream. We're going to be going over a beginner Android development tutorial, and this is going to be pretty much your first app, our first app that we're going to go over for the tutorial's sake. And it's going to be a part of a series where you can learn with me as I do go through these code labs. It's designed to help beginners learn how to code and how to code Android apps primarily. And I hope you have fun and that you learn something today in this code lab. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna be saving these recordings, so if you so happen to join later on the live stream, you can always rewind it or watch it later. So, all right, let's get started here. So, I'm going to go to the create and run your first Android app, and also I'm gonna go ahead and post a link to the code lab I'm going over inside the chat, and it's also going to be in the description so that you all can reference whenever you want. All right, I went ahead and posted that in the chat, and all right, let me go ahead and mute this music really quick. All right, so it's create and run your first Android app. So we're gonna assume that you already have the Android Studio installed. We went over that yesterday. If you want to catch up on that, please check out my other live stream from yesterday, and it's pretty much everything you need to know to install it for Windows and Mac. So, introduction. In this code lab, you'll create your first Android app, Happy Birthday, starting from a template for a basic app provided by Android Studio. You'll also explore what an Android project looks like and learn how to use different windows in Android Studio. Prerequisites: familiarity with setting up, configuring, and using applications such as a word processor or spreadsheet. Well, what you'll learn: how to create an Android Studio project for an Android app using a template. And what you'll build: a basic Android app from a template. And what you need is a computer with Android Studio installed. 2. Create your first app. In this task, you'll create an Android app using a project template provided by Android Studio. Project templates in Android Project templates. In Android Studio, a project template is an Android app that has all the necessary parts but doesn't do much. The purpose is to help you to get started faster and save you some work. Some examples of templates in Android Studio are an app with a map and an app with multiple screens. Create an empty activity project. In these steps, you'll create a new Android Studio project using the empty activity project template for your app. Number 1, start Android Studio. If it's not already open already, by clicking the Android Studio icon. So, also, just to let you all know, I'm going to be following along with my own Android Studio build as well, and I'll also reveal the screen to so I can show you where I'm at as well, so that you can see that live here today. And so, 2, the Welcome to Android Studio window opens. Click New Project. So, all right, so it wants us to open a new project here, and then once you open a new project, the new project window opens with a list of templates provided by Android Studio. So templates are pretty much code that they are like starter plate code that they already have for you, that have things like basic activities, empty activity, and all kinds of different things that you can start out with. But it looks like it wants us to select an empty activity. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So let me go ahead and open my, let me go ahead and set up the screen so you all can also see this. So let me see here. I'm going to let's see. We're going to display the screen and back screen capture. And then I'm going to go ahead and do, instead of showing just a window, I'm going to go to display capture. Alright, so there, I'm going to go to my Android Studio. And, okay. Alright, so I have my screen on. And so I have my Android Studio here on the screen. And so what it wanted us to do is it wants us to go to new project. And then once we're here, we're going to select the empty activity. So right here, the empty activity is selected. Then I'm going to hit next. And then let's see what it wants us to do. Click the tabs at the top and scroll through the templates to get an idea of what you could do. There are templates for many different types of devices, such as phones, tablets, and watches, and different types of apps. Apps with scrollable screens, apps with maps, and apps with fancy navigation. At the top left of the window, click the phone and tablet tab. So there's going, well, I already, let's see. So here you're going to see phone and tablet, and you can also click on like Wear OS, Android TV, automotive. So, but we're going to start with the phone and tablet. And then in the top row, click the empty activity template to select it as the template for your project, which we have done. The empty activity template is the simplest template that can be used to create an app. It has a single screen and displays a simple hello message. At the bottom of the window, click Next. The new project dialog opens. So, okay, so I showed you guys that on mine. Configure your project. Name is the name of your app. In the box below name, enter happy birthday. So they want us to enter happy birthday as the name of the application. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Click empty activity, and then I'm going to go to name. Then I'm going to go ahead and name that happy birthday. And then package. Package is the name used by the Android system to uniquely identify your app. Usually this defaults to the name of your organization followed by the name of the app, all in lowercase. In this case, com.example.happy birthday. So I'm going to go ahead and name that the same thing here. Going to be com.example.happy birthday. And that's what we're going to name the package here, which it already populated there actually. And so it says save location is the location where all the file this is the location where all the files related to your project are saved. Take a note of where that is on your computer so that you can find your files. You can leave the save location also as is for now. language. Defines which programming language you want to use for your project. Make sure the language is Kotlin. So, as of this video, Kotlin is the mainstream programming language used for Android development. So, it's the most popular and widely used. So, I would strongly suggest to always start with Kotlin. Minimum SDK indicates the minimum version of Android that your app can run on. Select API 19, Android 4.4 KitKat from the drop down list. And so there are many different versions of the Android operating system, each of which is given a name in alphabetical order as it is released. All right. Alright, so right now the minimum SDK is defaulting to API 24 as the time of this video. So 13 below minimum SDK. Notice the informational note on how many devices your app can run on with the chosen API level. If you are curious, click the Help Me Choose link to display a list of different versions of Android as shown below. Then return to the new project window. So right here it's showing different Android versions, and in the new project window make sure use legacy support library is unchecked. Click the question mark if you want to know more about this, and click finish. So okay, all right, so it looks like we can go ahead. We don't have this on our version of Android. Use legacy Android support libraries. So I mean, if it's not there, that's fine. It's just a little bit newer version. So we're just gonna go ahead and hit finish, and then all right. So that went ahead and loaded. It's loading our template project for us. And yeah, right here is our main activity. And I didn't put this code here. It was pre-populated. It's a pre-populated template code to basically show the first screen of your application. So, all right, let's go ahead and get back to the code lab here. All right. And so it says, so we're down here. So it says click finish. And Android Studio opens the project and all of its files. When you first open Android Studio, you'll see three windows. The project window shows the files and folders of your project. The editing window is for editing code. The What's New window shows news and useful tips. So, sometimes when you open a new project, it shows the new tips window, but I'm not sure if it showed it here. But if you open one, you can definitely check out whatever tips they have for you. But okay, so here is the file system where we have our different code files. Usually, for right now, we're not going to deal with these two folders right here related to test, where you'll see Android test and test here. Usually the main folders we'll be dealing with is the top folder here, com.sample.happybirthday. And then right here, it has your UI theme file, which we may or may not be dealing with those files in this tutorial. But the main file here is probably what we're going to be looking at pretty soon, is the main activity file right there. So In the bottom right corner of Android Studio, a progress bar or message indicates whether Android is still working on setting up your project. For example, two processes running. Wait until Android Studio set has completed setting up your project. A message in the bottom left corner, like the one shown below, will let you know when the project is complete. So yeah, so basically, it looks like it's not doing anything down here in the corner. Usually down here in the corner, like for instance, if something is going on or it's loading or building or things like that, it will indicate it down here. And so it looks like it's done and ready to go, which that's what it was talking about there. All right, so three, run your app on our virtual device emulator. So in this task, you'll use the device manager to create a software version and it an emulator of a mobile device and run it on your computer. Our virtual device or emulator simulates the configuration for a particular type of Android device, such as a phone. This could be any phone or tablet running your choice of Android system versions. You'll then use the device to run the app you created with the empty activity template. Note, the Android emulator is an independent application used to set up a virtual device it it has its own system requirements. Virtual devices can use up a lot of disk space. If you run into any issues, see run apps on the Android emulator. Create an Android virtual device. The first step towards running an emulator on your computer is to create a configuration for the virtual device. 1. From the Android Studio menu bar, select Tools, then Device Manager. So, what we're doing is we're going to be creating a emulator software that we can run our apps on. So, you you can use your regular device, but it's also convenient to be able to run an emulator that can be tested straight on your computer in case you don't have your own Android device on hand. And it's pretty good for demonstration purposes as well. So we're gonna be going through that. So I do have already my emulator set up, but we're gonna be going through the steps just so that you guys can also see how that works. You can also open the device manager by clicking this icon in the toolbar. The device manager displays as shown below. If you created a device previously, it'll be listed here. So, and then click create device. So, all right, so we're going to do that. We're going to go here, and then it says, so it says it wants us to go to the device manager. So, okay, here is where you see the device manager. I have Pixel 2 API 32, which was already created, but you can click this drop down here, and then you should see this device manager. All right, and here's my devices right here. So if you want to create a new device, you can go to create device, and then these are the different devices that you can create. So like Pixel XL, Pixel 6 Pro, Pixel 6, etc. And there's phone, tablet, Wear OS, desktop, and TV. So, all right. So it says the select hardware window appears. The select hardware window shows a list of pre-configured devices organized by category that you can choose from. For each device, the table provides a column for its display size, screen resolution in pixels, and pixel density. Select phone as the category. Select a phone, for example, Pixel 5. So it says select a phone, for example, Pixel 5, and then hit next. All right. And then you can choose any phone. But for this code lab, choose the newer device. So for this code lab, it says choose the newer device. The system image window appears from here. You choose the version of the Android system to run on your virtual device. This lets you test your app on different versions of the Android system. So here are like the different versions of the Android system. Looks like it's defaulting to the SV2 here. So from the recommended tab, choose S as the version of the Android system to run the virtual device. This was the latest version of Android at the time of writing, but you can choose any later stable version and check here for a list of stable versions. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and choose the SV2. It might even be different by the time you're watching this. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit next. And then it says you can check here for a list of stable versions. So also you can check here for a list of stable versions, which you can go ahead and look at this on your own time. If you want more information and are interested in the the current stable versions that are out. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this link, and I'm going to go ahead and post this in the chat so for your reference, and also in the description for you guys' reference as well, for you to check that out. And this is going to be, let's see, so yep, above link is for current Android stable builds. Alright, so we got that in the chat. And alright, we're gonna go on. And it says, note, if a download link is visible next to a system image you want to use, that image is not installed on your computer. You must install the image before the virtual device can be configured. To install a system image, click the download link. Note that the download can take a long time depending on your internet connection. Once the download is complete, click finish. This Android system image use a lot of disk space, so only a few are part of your original installation. Many more versions of Android systems are available than are shown in the recommended tab. To see them, look at the x86 images and other images. Okay, all right. So now, all right. So we're here and we're about to set up this device. It's saying sometimes you may need to download the image, which a lot of the default images are already downloaded. So in this case, it may not be necessary. The Android virtual device AVD window displays from where you can choose additional configuration details for your device. In the AVD name field, enter a name for your Android virtual device. Leave the rest unchanged. And then click Finish. Your new virtual device displays in the Device Manager window and is ready to use. So we're going to go ahead and click Finish over here. Alright. And so, yeah, so here is, in this pane, my Pixel 5 API 32 is available and ready. All right. So now it says run your app on the virtual device. If it is not if it is not already, bring Android Studio to the foreground. In Android Studio in the toolbar, find the virtual device drop-down menu. It will look similar to the example below, and then select the virtual device you created from the drop-down list. Or click Run, select Device. Then select your virtual device from the available devices in the pop-up. 3. In Android Studio, select Run App, or click the Run icon on the toolbar. The virtual device starts and boots just like a physical device. Depending on the speed of your computer, this may take a bit of time. When your app is ready, it opens on the virtual device as shown below. Alright, so what it wants us to do is, so you can go to your Android Studio. In this case, we have the Pixel 5 that we created here. And to run your app, you can click this green arrow here saying run app. So we're going to go ahead and run that. So you can see down here, Gradle build running. So that means it's loading basically. Every time you run the app, it has to build it. And it takes a few moments while your code compiles and builds. And then, as you can see, this window over here with my Android emulator is this Pixel 5. Emulated version of the Pixel 5. And currently it's starting up. So you do have to wait a few moments while it starts up. And then it's going to go to its home screen here. And then it's going to run my app. So, boom. Hello Android. So it went ahead and ran the app for us. And so if you've made it this far for the first time, congratulations. You have ran your first Android app from Android Studio as a developer. All right. So, all right. So we're going to go on here and all right. When your app is ready, it opens on the virtual device as shown below. And so yeah, there's says hello world, or says hello Android. And then it says, great job. Your virtual device is now up and running. Notice that the title is now Happy Birthday, and that hello world is showing on the screen. So awesome, awesome. All right. And then here it says find your project files. So when you configured your project, Android Studio created a folder on your computer for all your Android projects called Android Studio Projects inside the Android Studio Projects folder. Android Studio also creates a folder with the same name as your app, Happy Birthday in this case. The Happy Birthday folder is your project folder. Android Studio saves both the files you create and the files that are created by Android Studio in your project folder. In Android Studio, look at the project window on the left. The project window shows the files and folders of your project. Files in the project window are organized to make navigation between the project files easier when you write code. However, if you look at the files in the browser, such uh, as Finder or Windows Explorer, the file hierarchy is organized very differently. In this task, you will explore these two different views of the project folder hierarchy. 2. In Android Studio, in the project window, select Android from the drop down menu in the top left. You should see a file listing similar to the following. So, okay, so here is our file system, and then when we hit this drop down, we can select these different ones here. So it wanted us to select Android right there. So this is the way it's going to be organized. And so in Android Studio, in the project window, select Android from the drop down menu on the left. This view and organization of your files is useful when working or writing code for your project. You can also view your files as where they appear in a file browser, such as Finder for Mac OS or Explorer for Windows. In the project window, select Project Source Files from the drop-down menu. So it's saying to select project source files from the menu here. And so it organized the files in a different way here, where more like a Finder or Explorer style view with this hierarchy here. And so, okay. And then it says, notice that the title changes to the folder where the project files are stored. You can now browse the files in the same way as in any file explorer. To switch back to the previous view in the project window, select Android again. Great, now you can create and run an app from a template, and you can find your project files. So, alright, so that's what they taught so far is, this is where you can find your project files here on this pane. And we ran our first app here, basically, and then also you can select the different modes for the File Explorer. So I'm going to go back to the default one, which is Android, where it displays in this format here. So, all right. And great. So let's go on to next. And it says summary. To create a new project, start Android Studio, click Start New Android Studio Project, name your project, choose a template, and fill in the details. To create an Android virtual device and emulator to run your app, choose Tools, Device Manager, and then use the Device Manager to select a hardware device and system image. To run your app on a virtual device, make sure you have created a device. Select the device from the toolbar drop-down menu, and then run your app by clicking the Run icon in the toolbar. To find your project files in the project window, select Project Source Files from the drop-down. Alright, awesome. So, alright, so yeah, it says in section 6 you can learn more. There's different links here that you can explore, such as vocabulary for Android basics and Kotlin. Then these other the ones that you can take a look at. So, alrighty. So, okay. So, what we did was create and run your first Android app. And so that's what we did. Yeah, that's what we did. And so, yeah, so it looks like we accomplished that task today. And, I know that there will be people that watch this later. And I hope many of you who have not ever developed an Android before will give this a try. and be able to run your very first Android app. And so this is going to be a series of lessons that we're going to go over. So that's actually going to be um, good for today. So I hope that you all learned something. Please subscribe to the channel. There's going to be more lessons on this on Android development, and I'm happy to have all of you here. And please like the video and subscribe, and also give any comments that you have, any questions that you may have. Even if you watch the video much later, I will get back to your comment. And okay, um, and stay coding, everyone. Thank you.